Hello, welcome to another episode of James and Chris Science Videos, where today we're going to be looking at the environment and the key terms that you need to know for the topic. So, without further ado, let's go through this. The 5 key terms we're going to go through on this video are habitat, environment, population, community, and ecosystem. And to do that, we're going to go out to my garden, which is looking a little bit messy, but it's a great place to show you different things because we have on it, in it, a few different habitats that I can show you. So let's make a start. Let's go have a look at some habitats. Okay, here we have a habitat that I can show you. So we've gone out to the back garden. Now, habitats can be any area where organisms live. And so you can find them in areas around your own house. And it doesn't have to be like massive, great things like the African savanna or the Amazon rainforest. It can be something just at home. And so I'm going to show you 3 different habitats just in my garden and around by my house. So this is our back garden. Now this is south facing. So you can see the sun comes over that tree over there. And it goes over the day and moves around over the roof and ends up, and you can see it's good in the evening, you can see it just over there above the TV aerial. So this particular area of the garden gets sunlight for pretty much all of the day. And so this encourages species of plants that require lots of sunlight, that don't need shade and can survive exposed to the sunlight all day. And so, you know, we've encouraged certain plants to grow. So over here we've got our chili patch. You can see the chilies are coming, and we've got some nagas. Yeah, so lots of different chilies coming out here. And this itself would be one habitat. So it's a habitat suited to plants that need lots and lots of sunlight. And the second habitat I want to show you is in our front garden. Our front garden is north facing, which means the sunlight is blocked by the building for most of the day. And it only really gets sunlight at the last kind of stages of the day as the sun comes just over our next door neighbour's house and comes round and down this way. So here we get a completely different set of species growing. So I don't know if you can see some of these over here. We've got the honeysuckle is looking particularly nice at the moment. We've got some wild garlic over here, which smells delicious. It's nice, lovely. And here we've got some bluebells, some snowdrops, all of the different flowers that like shade. So the habitat here in the front of the garden is perfect for these different species. Okay, our third area is right at the back, where this particular area we've got shade over the whole lot. So we've got an ash tree, we've got a couple of hawthorns, we've got ivy that covers in a shed. And you can see across here, we get almost no sunlight throughout the day. In fact, it stays shaded pretty much the whole time. So again, we get different types of species growing here. So you can see on here how the different ivies which have adapted for this. We've got some hawthorn, we've got some plum, which is coming up quite nicely. And you get your ubiquitous nettles and so on. And so again, it's a completely different habitat. That's 3 habitats in one little area. So you're going to be having to go off and find your own habitats in a minute and see them. And it doesn't matter. It could be just a garden, like a box garden just outside your window in some flats. It doesn't have to be out the back. But even if you go just to your back garden, there's going to be certain little bits of habitat that you can go to, whether it be near a hedge or under a tree, or whether it's exposed to the sun, or whether there's lots and lots of water there, and so on. So habitat is the specific place where a species, can be plant or animal, lives. That would be its habitat. Okay, the next word we need to cover, and again I've taken you to a different bit of the garden this time, is the word population. And the word population is the word that we use to count the number of individual species. Now, I've taken you to this patch because I happen to know that this is our potato patch, and I know there's no other potatoes in my garden. So counting the population of potato plants in my garden is fairly easy. I go to the place where I know the potatoes are, and I count them. And here there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 34 potatoes. So the population of my potato patch is 34 potatoes. And so that's how we work out a population. It's the number of a certain species in a particular area. Okay, the next word I want to cover is the word community. Now, we've just done population. Population is the number of, and I did think of potatoes, the number of potatoes that are on a place, it's the number of species in one particular area. However, a community is similar, except a community says that those species have to work together. And so a great example would be an ant's nest. Now, my population of this garden would be, I don't know, several 100,000, but not all the ants work together. Each nest would be a separate community, and that takes away from the population. So if I turn under, I haven't looked under these yet, but we might see if I turn over some of these stones, maybe one on the earth, and where we go, we're looking for, let's see if we can find one, which I should do in a second. Let's have a look. There we go. There we go, look at that. So under this one here, we have a community of woodlice. So you can see all the woodlice running around. Now they would have been part of a family unit and they would have worked together. So that would be a community. It's not the whole population. The whole population of woodlice would be all the woodlice in the whole of my garden. That is a community. The community is the section that works together. And there are lots of examples in nature. We could talk about warrens for rabbits. We could talk about lots of different examples, pods for dolphins. Each of those are communities. In terms of humans, we talk about communities as being places where people gather. So we talk about school communities. That is all the people in the school that work together. You could say that year 6 is a community because they all work together. And so the population of the school may be 400. The year 6 might be just one community within that population. Also we get things like villages and countries. They're all kind of like how they work together makes it a community. Okay, we're back to the back of the house where I want to use this particular area to explain what the word environment means, because that's quite a key word at the moment. A lot of people are talking about the environment at the moment, and you need to understand scientifically what that means. And so here I'm going to talk about the environment of around the back of my house. And so what does this word mean? Well, the environment means all the conditions that are here in this particular area. And so we could talk about global environment, that is the conditions across the whole planet. We could talk about the environment in Britain, but we can also talk about environment in specific small areas. So the kind of thing we'd look about for here, if I talk about the environment, I'd be looking at how much water there is, how much sunlight gets through, what's the combination of oxygen and carbon dioxide, what type of species live here, is the soil full of nitrates and minerals or not? What are the predators that are here? And several other factors that you can think of. Temperature, there's another good one, of whether it's hot or cold. Now, it's colder here than it is in my back garden, which is south facing, which gets lots of sunlight. And so that will affect. So the word environment applies to all of the conditions that are in one area. And so we can use that to describe how an area is. The environment of my back garden is dark, cold, lacks sunlight, is quite damp, and so on. So those are the descriptive words we would use. What we're going to do next is ecosystems. And an ecosystem is, in an area, all of the organisms that work together. And we use the word interdependence for working together, organisms working together. And it includes everything in that area because it all interacts in some kind of way. So here in my back garden, I've got some daisies, I've got some dandelions, we've got some grass, and we've got some weeds, we've got some ivy, we've got some chilies that are going to be growing. I've not worked out what that is, but it also includes the animals and organisms that are inside. So if I dig through, hopefully we've got some worms in there. It'll be nice and healthy if we did. Let's have a look. Have we got anything in there, Luke? Nothing coming through. Oh, I thought we'd get at least a couple of worms. But any organisms that are inside that as well would be included in my ecosystem. And so a lot of this topic is going to be about looking at how they work together and how they combine in order to make the whole ecosystem work. So that's ecosystem, all the organisms in one area working together to form interdependence. That's great. So now we've seen a few habitats and some examples of what the different words mean. What I would like you to do and challenge you to do is to go and find a habitat near you. It can be in your garden, you can go a bit further afield and look in woods, it can just be a box garden just outside a window in a flat. All of that is possible. And what I'd like you to do for each of those is to describe your area in the terms that we've discussed before. So I want you to describe the habitat, describe the environment, the conditions that are there, describe the population, what is there, what organisms and how. Mention any communities, if you can find specific communities, and say which communities you've got and where they are, and then start to look at the ecosystem and look at the different relationships between them. What eats what hides what. Is there, we call it a symbiotic relationship, where they live together and benefit each other in some way. Have a look, write a little report, see what you can find, and use those terms in the correct fashion. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.